In what is normally an unoccupied hangar off the side of Sacramento International Airport, but today it's occupied and full of people, not just the TSA. You got law enforcement, including members of the chaplaincy, other first responders, and a whole slew of people who are getting themselves ready for the emergency drill that they do here every 3 years. They do that in order to maintain compliance with federal law. In addition to the dummies they'll be using for the drill in order to treat some of these injuries and triage people that are simulated hurt anyway, they're also having real volunteers who are getting makeup applied so they look like they're pretty beat up, and some of them look right out of an episode of The Walking Dead. Ooh, that one doesn't look good. Which means it really does. And you can see they're dealing with wounds of different levels of severity.
Yeah, we were supposed to do one shift with Metro Flight Mercy San Juan, but Mercy San Juan was trying to screw the school over. So the professors were like, let's just go double shifts with Metro and on it.
This is Brian Vaccareza and Sue Lomolino. Sue is with Sacramento County Medical Reserve Corps, and she is putting some makeup on Brian. Brian, what kind of injury do you have?
I've got a head injury and an ankle fracture, which you can't see.
Okay, but that head injury looks pretty gnarly.
Does it?
It does. I'll show you the pictures when we're done. Tell me about why you wanted to come out here and be a volunteer.
Well, I'm actually part of the Medical Reserve Corps as well.
So you were drafted?
Yes, I was drafted.
Well, maybe you can explain what your role will be. Like, what do you need to do when you're out on the field today?
To play the role of an injured victim.
Yell and scream and go, ah!
Well, Sue, what's the trick to making them look really badly hurt?
Lots of blood. No, messier is better. A lot of people get into this and they want it to look perfect, and cuts and injuries are random. So just throwing it on there but making it look really random, I think, is the trick. And knowing how to work with different products, you know. But yeah.
So, Brian, talk about, if you would, the importance of being a volunteer and what it does to help the first responders who come out here.
Well, the first responders that come out need to have this kind of practice to be able to apply their skills when it comes to the real thing. I used to be on that end, so I am here to fill in the other role so that the new people can fill in and take over where I left off.
And so you obviously understand the value of having that practice.
Oh, yes, very much.
Now, did it ever pay off for you in real life?
Most certainly, yes.
How so?
Back in the early 1980s, the Cleveland schoolyard shooting, I was one of the first to respond to that incident, and it was a life-changing moment. I mean, I think for everybody in the EMS field, we learned a lot from that, and we've applied a lot of the things we learned, and they're still happening today.
All right. Well, it's going to be great seeing how it all works out here on the airfield today, too. Brian Vaccareza and Sue Lomolino, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you. And here's your final result.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
good.
Looks like you've had a rough day, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Good meeting you.
Now
And we're on one of the taxiways here. Those two buses are meant to simulate the damaged aircraft, and the injured people are waiting around to be injured and staged. Meanwhile, they're scattering the luggage over here and some of the debris to simulate the situation the first responders will have to deal with. eventually all these folks will be scattered around as well. First responders, people from the CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team, and others will be here to help out. We've got some helicopters that are here, going to do life flights to area hospitals, UC Davis Medical Center, Sutter, Kaiser. And they will, once they get started, we'll triage all these people and get them treated and taken to where they need to go. Simulated victims are all getting staged on the tarmac here. Emergency response team now making its way out to the crash site. people over to this triage area. Some of them will be life flighted out of here. There's a couple of helicopters here to fly these people to 4 different area hospitals: Mercy, San Juan, Sutter, Kaiser, and UC Davis Medical Center. And we just got word that there were 5 fatalities and 71 people injured, all simulated, of course, as part of this triennial drill they do here at Sacramento International Airport in order to maintain compliance with FAA rules. Other airports do it once a year, and we understand that San Francisco is among them.
Not at this moment. This is operations, go ahead, 2811. FY National Guard and flight 360 contact you shortly. Copy, UH-60 contacting you.
Some of the simulated fatalities here, while the roles of the simulated injured are being played by live people, the roles of the people who died in this incident are being played by giant rubber dummies that are pretty realistic looking.
Held a full-scale emergency preparedness drill. This is something we do every 3 years. It's required by the FAA, and it helps us know what we need to improve and how we can respond best in a disaster. There were about a dozen different community agencies assisting in this drill, 120 people from outside the airport. I don't know how many people from within the airport, probably another 20 or 30. We had volunteers who were made up to look like accident victims, as you saw. This was an opportunity to work with our community partners and our first responders in an incident that was designed to simulate an actual emergency. And this was an emergency in which a 737 collided with a National Guard military helicopter, resulting in mass casualties as well as mortality. And it involved every aspect of airport operations. Specifically, each one of these drills has an area of focus. And where's the best place for me to look? Here? That's great. every exercise has an area of focus, and this area was to test a patient tracking system that local hospitals developed, and they came to us and said, we want to make sure, we want to see how it would work in an actual test scenario. Our good partners at Southwest Airlines also have a patient/passenger tracking system that they wanted to see not only if it would work in an emergency, but how well it would work with area hospitals. This is the first time since we've been having triennial exercises that we had medical air ambulance services taking airlifted volunteers to hospitals. Once they were in the hospitals, that was part of the exercise to see how well the hospital could communicate with the Red Cross and how well the Red Cross could communicate with the airline. Because in an emergency, hospitals would not be able to confirm the identity of any of their patients because of privacy laws.
How long does it take to plan something like this? There's a lot of
months. It takes months. Usually planning for a triennial starts about a year ahead of the incident. Usually planning takes about a year before the event is finally staged.
What'd you learn today?
What did we learn today? I was in the Department Operations Center, so a lot of what we learned had to do with logistics and how better to communicate with our partners. I know I learned a lot. Every exercise we do, we find room for improvement, and today's was certainly no exception.